instead of the civil governor of Louisiana. Military affairs were of such importance and absorbed so much attention during the year 1863, both at Washington and at the headquarters of the various armies, that the subject of Reconstruction was of necessity somewhat neglected. The military governor of Louisiana, indeed, ordered a registration of loyal voters about the middle of June, for the purpose of organizing a loyal state government, but its only result was to develop an inevitable antagonism and contest between conservatives who desired that the old constitution of Louisiana prior to the rebellion should be revived, by which the institution of slavery as then existing would be maintained, and the Free State party which demanded that an entirely new constitution be framed and adopted in which slavery should be summarily abolished. The conservatives asked President Lincoln to adopt their plan. While the President refused this, he, in a letter to General Banks, dated August 5, 1863, suggested the middle course of gradual emancipation. "For my own part," he wrote, "I think I shall not, in any event, retract the Emancipation Proclamation, nor, as executive, ever return to slavery any person who is freed by the terms of that proclamation, or by any of the acts of Congress. If Louisiana shall send members to Congress, their admission to seats will depend, as you know, upon the respective houses and not upon the President. I would be glad for her to make a new constitution recognizing the Emancipation Proclamation and adopting emancipation in those parts of the state to which the proclamation does not apply. And while she is at it, I think it would not be objectionable for her to adopt some practical system by which the two races could gradually live themselves out of their old relation to each other, and both come out better prepared for the new. Education for young blacks should be included in the plan. After all, the power or element of contract may be sufficient for this probationary period, and by its simplicity and flexibility may be the better." During the autumn months the President's mind dwelt more and more on the subject of Reconstruction, and he matured a general plan which he laid before Congress in his annual message to that body on December 8, 1863. He issued, on the same day, a proclamation of amnesty, on certain conditions, to all persons in rebellion, except certain specified classes who should take a prescribed oath of allegiance. The proclamation further provided that whenever a number of persons so amnestied in any rebel state, equal to 1/10 the vote cast at the presidential election of 1860, should reestablish a state government which shall be republican and in no wise contravening said oath, such would be recognized as the true government of the state. The annual message discussed and advocated the plan at length, but also added, saying that Reconstruction will be accepted if presented in a specified way. It is not said it will never be accepted in any other way. This plan of reconstructing what came to be called 10% states met much opposition in Congress, and that body, reversing its action in former instances, long refused admission to members and senators from states similarly organized, but the point needs no further mention here. A month before the amnesty proclamation the President had written to General Banks, expressing his great disappointment that the Reconstruction in Louisiana had been permitted to fall in abeyance by the leading Union officials there, civil and military. "I do, however," he wrote, "urge both you and them to lose no more time. Governor Shepley has special instructions from the War Department. I wish him, these gentlemen and others cooperating, without waiting for more territory, to go to work and give me a tangible nucleus which the remainder of the state may rally around as fast as it can, and which I can at once recognize and sustain as the true state government." He urged that such reconstruction should have in view a new free state constitution, for, said he, "if a few professedly loyal men shall draw the disloyal about them, and colorably set up a state government, repudiating the Emancipation Proclamation and reestablishing slavery, I cannot recognize or sustain their work. I have said, and say again, that if a new State government, acting in harmony with this government, and consistently with general freedom, shall think best to adopt a reasonable temporary arrangement in relation to the landless and houseless freed people, I do not object, but my word is out to be for and not against them on the question of their permanent freedom. General Banks, in reply, excused this inaction by explaining that the military governor and others had given him to understand that they were exclusively charged with the work of reconstruction in Louisiana. To this the President rejoined under date of December 24, 1863, I have all the while intended you to be master, as well in regard to reorganizing a State government for Louisiana as in regard to the military matters of the department, and hence my letters on reconstruction have nearly, if not quite, all been addressed to you. My error has been that it did not occur to me that Governor Shepley or any one else would set up a claim to act independently of you. I now distinctly tell you that you are master of all, and that I wish you to take the case as you find it, and give us a free State reorganization of Louisiana in the shortest possible time. Under this explicit direction of the President, and basing his action on martial law as the fundamental law of the State, the General caused a governor and State officials to be elected on February 22, 1864. To override the jealousy and quarrels of both the conservative and Free State parties, he set out in his proclamation that the officials to be chosen should, until others are appointed by competent authority, constitute the civil government of the State under the Constitution and laws of Louisiana, except so much of the said Constitution and laws as recognize, regulate, or relate to slavery, which, being inconsistent with the present condition of public affairs, and plainly inapplicable to any class of persons now existing within its limits, must be suspended, and they are therefore and hereby declared to be inoperative and void. The newly elected governor was inaugurated on March 4, with imposing public ceremonies, and the President also invested him with the powers exercised hereto by the military governor of Louisiana. General Banks further caused delegates to a State convention to be chosen, who, in a session extending from April 6 to July 25, perfected and adopted a new constitution, which was again adopted by popular vote on September 5 following. General Banks reported the Constitution to be one of the best ever penned. It abolishes slavery in the State and forbids the legislature to enact any law recognizing property in man. The emancipation is instantaneous and absolute, without condition or compensation, and nearly unanimous. The State of Arkansas had been forced into rebellion by military terrorism, and remained under Confederate domination only because the Union armies could afford the latent loyal sentiment of the State no effective support until the fall of Vicksburg and the opening of the Mississippi. After that decisive victory, General Steele marched a Union column of about 13,000 from Helena to Little Rock, the capital, which surrendered to him on the evening of September 10, 1863. By December, 8 regiments of Arkansas citizens had been formed for service in the Union army, and, following the amnesty proclamation of December 8, the reorganization of a loyal State government was speedily brought about, mainly by spontaneous popular action, of course under the direction and with the assistance of General Steele. In response to a petition, President Lincoln sent General Steele on January 20, 1864, a letter repeating substantially the instructions he had given General Banks for Louisiana. Before these could be carried out, popular action had assembled at Little Rock on January 8, 1864, a formal delegate convention composed of 44 delegates who claimed to represent 22 out of the 54 counties of the State. On January 22, this convention adopted an amended constitution which declared the act of secession null and void, abolished slavery immediately.